I went to the ostrich farm in Edgewood, British Columbia. It was a bit of a trek. I got on the plane in Toronto. I flew to Kelowna, rented a car, and drove on a very windy road to get to the farm, where I was met by the most lovely people. And it really had a Woodstock feeling. I was going to say it was a little bit reminiscent of the trucker convoy in that people there were their best foot forward. People were hopeful, but a little bit worried about their country. People of different backgrounds. People had come. They're not sure how long they would be there for. So many ways similar to the truckers. And I'll tell you, as I was driving in, I was by myself. As I was driving in, my first worry was, will the police keep me out? Because I know the police have been, swarming is the wrong word. They have been staging, they have been preparing, they have been observing, they have been spying. And I was told that there was a police vehicle at the entrance to the road to the farm. And my first worry was that I would be kept away because I had taken a 4.5-hour flight and then a 2-hour drive. And I thought, oh, please, I've spent so long in this journey. I hope they don't turn me away. And then I was immediately relieved that the police there were not yet in enforcement mode. In fact, they were in sort of friendly lounge around mode. And again, I remember that from the trucker convoy too. And if you were there at the trucker convoy, you will remember that until they were given the terrible order by Justin Trudeau, they were in friendly mode. But the real evildoers, if I can use that word, because I think what they're doing is evil in a number of ways, and I'll explain that. I don't throw that around casually, were not the RCMP. The RCMP came to talk to us. In fact, I talked to one, the official spokesman for the RCMP for about 10 minutes, and I'll play some of that for you. But you see what's on the screen right now? What is that? Now you can see some ostriches there in the background. I was standing on a bit of a hill across the highway, and you can see there's like a little tent there, and there's some equipment. So there I am standing. You see there's a road, and beyond, and that's me trying to use the zoom. And you can see the birds there. And what are those huge bales of hay? Do they serve any purpose? They have no medical purpose. They have no ornithological purpose. They have no public health purpose. They are so that when they start to kill the birds, you will not be able to see them. You see what they're doing right there? They were disabling the surveillance cameras of the farm. So let me back up a bit. So the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, which are basically food police, have ordered this entire flock of hundreds of ostriches to be killed. And their rationale, they say, and look at that, they're wearing hazmat suits. All the birds are healthy. None of the RCMP are wearing hazmat suits. No one who's there is. They're doing that only for PR reasons. They're trying to make it look terrifying or something. And the thing is, they go from what they're calling the hot zone. They literally use that word in a press release yesterday. They go from the hot zone, and they don't stay nearby because the locals hate them. So they drive about an hour away to the town of Vernon, and they go to the hotel, and they go to the restaurant. And if there was really an Ebola-like scare, first of all, everyone would be wearing hazmat suits. Second of all, no one would be objecting to the cull of the birds. And third of all, they would not be going back to the hotel in Vernon. Here, yeah, tune the sound up here. This is me showing a little bit of the birds and the cops. I think this was sort of my general commentary. Put it on just for a second. And actually, can you find the one where a bird was killed? And yeah, play this one for a bit. But there was also one when a bird was killed or was dying, and they refused to let the farmer approach the bird in any way. Maybe, in fact, do you want to get that one first? It's 5 minutes long. And so basically the Canadian Food Inspection Agency has taken over half the farm. They've taken over the parts where the birds are. They put this yellow police tape around it, and they won't let the farmers tend to their animals. So here's the head of the farm who was crying because an animal was being left to die alone and without any care. And if you have worked with animals for years and years and years and years, farmers often name their animals. I mean, they're not pets, but a farmer cares about their animals. The animal is in pain, is dying. It's all happening in real time. And you see that yellow police tape. They were not allowing the farmer to console, contact, ease the pain and suffering of the animal. It was dying alone in the dust. And you can see the lady, in fact, turn the volume up. I'll talk over it, but turn the volume up. She's saying to the RCMP, can you do something? Can I visit the bird? And he basically commiserated with her and said, you know the rules. I'll pass it on to the Canadian Food Inspection Agency. Yeah, I'll be quiet. Play for a minute and we'll listen to her make the case.
Because we did those finishes, she's dying alone. This is the most painful thing. They're right there. They're right there. We're not aggressive. We're not hurting anybody. We just want to give her love. They've been loved for 35 years by us. We would have never let them die alone. She's dying by herself because we are being punished by line, by this tape. We're being punished. It's not fair. She's dying for being healthy. She's dying because we.
So that cop is listening to this, and he later says, "You know, there's nothing I can do." Like he was sort of nice about how he said it, but he was speaking the truth. There's nothing he can do because he's not the boss. He's like the bodyguards to the boss, who are those Ottawa bureaucrats. Now, can you skip to 30 seconds from the end? Because I was just standing there silently filming that. And then this guy shows up. Yeah, go back 10 seconds earlier than that. And this guy, instead of commiserating, he's recording. He's got a mask on to hide his identity. And turn up the volume, because I just asked him a few questions. So back up 10 seconds and turn up the volume and I'll be quiet.
Thanks for your help.
We'll do what we can.
Dude, please help. Please help me. This is wrong.
Are you live streaming, officer? Are you live streaming, or are you just filming our faces?
Yeah.
So why is he filming?
What are you filming for? Why are you hiding your own face?
Let's leave this, okay? Please. Katie doesn't want that.
All right.
Katie does not want that. Think about Katie.
Yeah, but that's not right.
So I asked him, are you live streaming? Why are you recording? Why are you hiding your face? What's that for? Like, literally, why did he come over and record everybody? Can you tell me why he did that? If I was that cop, I'd be ashamed to show my face also, frankly. So there's different cops, and you can see different ones of different relations with authoritarianism. Some people go into policing to be a Robert Peel type of policeman of the community, listening to the community, spending time with people in the community, really being a delegate of the community. Robert Peel said, a policeman is of the community and community are the police. It's just that police do it full time. What was that cop doing filming people? No one was doing anything wrong. Why was he coming with his face masked to film people? Like, what the hell's his problem? Who the hell is he? Anyhow, I asked if I could speak to the top cop, and they said, oh, he's in, I forget where he was, in Surrey or something. And I said, well, I'm not interested in talking to him then. He'll know less than me. And then weirdly, they said, oh, actually, he's right here and he'll talk to you. So this was actually the very first interview I did upon arriving there on the scene. So I didn't really have a lot of the facts in hand yet, but I thought, well, let me start with talking to the cop, because they actually went and got him. When maybe they recognized Rebel News and realized that we really are leading the coverage of this. We've done 60 news stories about it, almost all of them by our friend Drea Humphrey, who's really the queen of the ostriches now. She's well loved and well known there. Certainly her reputation precedes me, and I was welcomed as well because people love what Drea is doing.
By connecting businesses with qualified candidates, Workforce Alberta helps employers change their story.
So at first they said, oh, our spokesman is far away. He's in Surrey. I said, well, I don't care what he has to say then. But then, surprised he wasn't in Surrey. That was a bit of a fib. And they went and got him. Why don't we play it? I think it's an 11-minute clip. We won't necessarily play all of it. But I was trying to be smart. I was trying not to be rude or mean because I wanted information from him. And it is a fact. He's not the bad guy here. Now, maybe he should be more of a good guy, but I don't think he's the bad guy. The bad guy are, of course, these Ottawa bureaucrats who want to kill 400 birds because a year ago, 2 of them had the sniffles. And yeah, here's my conversation with, I think his name was Kerry Clark. Let's take a listen.
Now, I spoke to some of the other officers. They're coming in from pretty far afield. I mean, it looks like a pretty big operation. Are you at liberty to disclose how many RCMP are involved?
We don't speak to the numbers specifically for operational security reasons. What I can tell you is there are a number of different support units under the critical response unit here. So overall operations is conducted by critical response unit, which responds to such things as wildfires, floods, things of that nature, as well as protests. Those support services that you may have seen over the last couple of weeks, we have remote powered aircraft system, obviously. We've got some medics here, among others. So to ensure that we don't compromise public safety in any one community, we bring in officers from across the province.
Looks like a pretty big operation. One officer said more than 30, and you just described other, the ambulance, which I think I saw drive by. How long have you guys been out here? Has it been a couple weeks now?
So we arrived early morning on September 22nd,
Okay.
and we will remain on site until CFIA concludes their business.
Can I ask, maybe you don't know the answer, who's paying for that? Because you guys, I'm guessing there's some overtime, I'm guessing there's some hotels and restaurants, and even if it is just 30, and I suspect it's probably more, that's a pretty big operation.
I don't have the specific
Like
where
with the
the funding
CFI,
model is. So.
like the CFIA, would they have contacted you, or would, like, who said, hey, bring all the RCMP down? Does the CFIA have the power to do that, or was that a decision by the Solicitor General, maybe?
So to be clear, this is a CFIA operation.
Okay.
And so it's a search warrant that they've executed, and we're here at their request.
Okay.
Anyway, the conversation goes on for a bit, but basically the bureaucrats in charge of food have commandeered 30, 40, 50 real police because they're worried they'll be torn to shreds by ordinary people if they're unguarded. It's weird that it's the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, because these birds, these ostriches, are not being farmed for food. They're not being farmed for leather, or there may be other uses for a bird. They are actually part of a test to test therapies for non-mRNA therapies for different diseases, including the flu. And one of the theories, speculation, is that the reason they're so obsessed with this is they want to kill off these birds, so the theory goes, to avoid any competitors to the mRNA vaccines. And the theory is that may be a reason why RFK Jr. weighed in on this. In fact, Olivia, if it's easy, if you could call up RFK Jr.'s letter about this, I wouldn't mind reading it on air to refresh my memory about what he said. And it's really weird. And you saw at the beginning, all those hay bales were stacked up into sort of giant 10-foot high visual barriers. And Olivia, do you have those photos? I didn't capture them myself, but someone who was on the road with me snapped a couple of photos, I don't know if you have them, of drone countermeasures. Like, if anyone's following the Russia-Ukraine war, it's a drone war as much as an artillery war or anything else. And the drones and the counter drones and the anti-drones, it's an enormous field of military aviation. And what's incredible to me is the high-tech devices being set up around the property, and something that looks like a kind of electronic gun, like an EMP gun, that the sole purpose of which is to stop people from watching what happens. I don't know what their budget is. It's got to be in the millions to have 50 RCMP pulled in from all across the province, put up in a hotel, paid overtime, paid this per diems, etc. This is a multi-million-dollar operation. How much have they spent on anti-drone technology? And how weird is it that I'm saying the Canadian Food Inspection Agency is spending millions on anti-drone technology? Like, what are they? Are they defending Dnipro in the battle with Russia? Like, what? Why are they doing military-style drones and anti-drones? It's so weird. And the fact that the CFIA have not made themselves available for interviews, like, say what you want about the RCMP, and there are reasons to criticize them in this case, at least the guy answered my questions for, actually, I sort of ran out of questions after 11 minutes, partly because I was just really new to the scene, so I hadn't fully briefed myself yet. But I'll give him credit. He came to talk to me, even though Rebel News has been particularly critical. In fact, maybe that's why he came to talk to me, is because he knew that I was a critic, and he thought, well, if he just told basic factual answers to me, maybe that would mollify me a bit. And to be honest, it did. The CFIA, by contrast, is nowhere to be seen. And when they are seen, they're playing costume party dress up like they're in the Wuhan Institute of Virology with their hazmat suits. Like, what a bunch of liars. Yeah, just incredible. Let me see if I can find that RFK letter. It's not that important, but it's interesting to me that people around the world care about it. So anyway, I was there for a little bit of time. Oh, there it is. Yeah, can you pump that up bigger? So this is from RFK Jr., and this was just 2 months ago. Dear Minister MacDonald, we are writing to urge the Canadian Food Inspection Agency to delay any planned culling of the scientifically significant ostrich flock at Universal Ostrich Farm in BC. Instead pursue collaborative research to study these unique animals. So let's get into it here. As of July 14, the remaining birds in the flock will have survived more than 170 days after H5N1 infection without symptoms or further documented transmission since the initial detection of H5N1. That's basically avian flu. This exceeds the documented incubation and shedding periods for avian influenza by a wide margin. This is a unique research opportunity. We propose immediate collaboration between CFIA, Canadian researchers, and our U.S.-based scientists from the National Institutes of Health and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. We are prepared to offer direct access to advanced diagnostic, immunologic, and therapeutic research infrastructure to rapidly capitalize on this scientific opportunity. So RFK Jr. sees this as an opportunity. The fact that these birds got the sniffles 10 months ago and no longer do have the sniffles, and I'm saying sniffles half jokingly, but that's all the flu is, people. So he says the current H5N1 challenge will likely not reach this level of, I skipped a bit. The current H5N1 challenge will likely not reach the level of crisis, but visionary leadership should strive to minimize this possibility and build useful knowledge for future avian influenza outbreaks. Animals that are resistant to viral infections or recovered from them have been essential for later in-human therapeutics and have informed our scientific understanding of influenza, HIV, and hepatitis viruses. Close study of the flock's long-term survival may similarly aid future developments of treatments and or vaccines for H5N1 and other avian influenzas. If Canada prefers not to host continued research, the department would appreciate the opportunity to engage with the CFIA to discuss options to perform this research in the United States. Sincerely, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Isn't that a positive, hopeful, solutions-oriented, helpful letter? He's saying, look, this is a very interesting situation. These birds were sick. They're better now. They've got herd immunity. Let's study this. We can learn from this. Don't kill these animals. They may contain secrets about how to avoid getting sick. And he says, look, we're ready to bring all our top-notch stuff to the table, which I believe he would. And then his last part is, if you guys don't want to do this, we're happy to do this. How could you say no to this guy? Well, maybe if you are literally guided by a desire to stop that health research, because maybe you prefer, maybe if you're working for Pfizer or Moderna, you want some expensive mRNA vaccine because you make a lot of money off that. It sort of reminds me of how ivermectin, which is such a wonder drug, really, that it won the Nobel Prize for medicine. And it's so cheap, like a few bucks a dose, that that public health officials everywhere said, you can't use ivermectin, you have to use these hundreds of dollars per pop Moderna and Pfizer vaccines. Well, gee whiz, I wonder what their motivation was.
By providing access to job training and support, Work First Alberta helps job seekers change their story.